Maureen Johnson is a witch. Hello strangers, I'm Ravenna, and today I will be reviewing Truly Devious series by Maureen Johnson. So this is a trilogy of 3 books. The first one is Truly Devious. The second one is The Vanishing Staircase. And last but not least, we have The Hand on the Wall. So this series is about a girl who goes to an elite boarding school. This is a boarding school you don't have to pay to get into, but there has to be something special about you. Basically, you write a big application and apply to get into this school, and they only take so many people, and they're usually prodigies of some kind. Like, they wrote a book and they're only 16 and it was a bestseller, or they can build a robot at 16. That kind of idea. So the main character, Stevie, is obsessed with mysteries, and that's her thing. And the boarding school is home to its own mystery, revolving around the founder's family who was kidnapped, and nobody really knows what went down. So you probably will like this book if you like true crime, and it's like, I want to say, I'm careful to say conspiracies because like there's a difference between crime conspiracies than the conspiracies that now exist on the internet. Book takes place during kind of like now, while having flashbacks to events surrounding the kidnapping in the 1930s. So it is set during the alcohol ban, so that comes into play. As a whole, I really like the series. I gave the first 2 books, these bad boys, 4 stars, and I gave the last book 5 stars. So at its core, it is a mystery there's the mystery of what happened in the past, but also events start happening once Stevie gets there. And it's all surrounding this original mystery. The solution is done really well, and by the 3rd book I do think it's solvable for yourself what happened, and the information we're given is a very good paced, and it's a very well paced mystery. So I really love the mystery side of it, but we also have the characters. Stevie herself has anxiety, which is portrayed pretty well from coming from my own experience with anxiety. Like, I don't have a diagnosis, but I'm autistic, and like, if you know, autism like comes with a lot of anxiety that builds up. So I know something about anxiety. From what I see, like Stevie's one is done really well. Stevie's on medication and it's normalised, which is great to see. She does have panic attack. The panic attacks happen a few times during the series. I don't know, I think some people don't like reading books with panic attacks, but there's like a panic attack in the first book, and there's definitely panic attacks a few times in the last book. Stevie's pretty likeable. She's determined and faults and things. Her love interest is pretty typical, I would say, for Maureen Johnson. I mean, I wouldn't say it's a bad thing. I guess it's your personal taste, isn't it? Her love interest is like David, who's angry little rich boy. He kind of reminds me of the other love interest that I read by Maureen Johnson, but like he's also really different. I don't need books of love interests, so I don't have a lot of thoughts. He's a character. He's a complex character. The relationship's kind of complex, so, and it works. Because like they actually have issues that they need to talk about and get over, and they're teenagers. So life's complicated at that age. I mean, life's complicated at every age, but especially then. The side characters are also quite diverse as well. There is a character that's non-binary and uses they and them pronouns, which is nice to see in YA. There's a few characters that I read as like Nate, for example, reads very autistically coded, and it would be awesome if he was like said to be autistic, but he wasn't, unless I missed it, because I did listen to an audiobook. I really enjoyed the audiobook. Sometimes the voice actress was a bit monotone. It was kind of okay once I got used to it. The reason why I think Nate comes across as like autistic coded, or like autistic to me, it can be read as autistic. I suppose autistic coder gives the idea that Maureen Johnson meant for him to be autistic and just didn't do it, but like he has a lot of autistic traits, like doesn't like being touched, same, and likes to spend loads of time alone, same. Maybe I just like really relate to him and his like having like creative ideas but like just not actually writing them down. That's me, so maybe I'm just like, it seems autistic. But I also think it comes to the fact a lot of characters seem kind of autistically coded or have autistic traits because like a lot of them are prodigies with obsessions, and you know, obsessions are a very autistic thing to have. A lot of autistic people will have their own obsessions, so they'll know like all this information about something that's maybe relevant, like science. They'll know all this science information, or not relevant at all, like Disney facts. I mean, that's me. I know a lot of irrelevant facts that I don't think will ever be useful. This book is kind of like in a parallel world where it's like dealing with real politics but also still being like fictional. Like a lot of the things that are in this book you can kind of relate really easily to the real world and how horrifying it is politically. So I feel like it's probably very relatable that way. And for example, basically Stevie's parents are campaign us, like they volunteer for this really terrible politician, so that comes up because like what do you do when your loved ones are just politically nightmarish? Something I really loved about this series and Maureen Johnson in general is that actions like actually have consequences. Like you can't just go and have like this big adventure without anyone noticing, or like if something happens it does affect other things. So that was my thoughts about the Truly Devious series. I really love the series and do recommend it, especially if you are somebody who really likes mystery murder. So I will see you weirdos next time, where I will be on the staircase. Farewell. Something funny about this book, I was listening to the audiobook while I was driving through snow, and then this giant blizzard comes in this last book. That's not really a spoiler because of the location of the school. Of course it snows in winter, but like I think that Maureen Johnson somehow managed to summon snow because I was reading this book. Not because it's typical Scottish weather to snow. No, it was Maureen Johnson. She's the one that summoned snow because I started reading this book and suddenly there was snow. That's how the weather works. It wasn't just a complete coincidence. Maureen Johnson is a witch.